Hey everyone! So I wanted to do a quick video about how I set up multiple channels so that I can use them as breakout rooms, and then I can allow my students to go into those breakout rooms. And I've been able to do it with, if I'm using just one screen, a total of 5 rooms if I include the general meeting room. If I'm using 2 screens, I can almost double that to a total of 9 rooms. So just wanted to walk you through that process. So step 1 is going to be to go to your actual class itself. So I'm going to go into my test classroom for the purposes of this, just so I can check it out. So I already have my general meeting. So that's where my students come just to go to class. So I'm going to go ahead and say add channel. I'm going to call this one breakout room 1. I will say that it's accessible to everyone on the team, and I am going to automatically show it so that I don't have to always give my students a link, because that can get exhausting. I did it the first couple times. I didn't want to do it every time. All right, so I'm going to just keep adding as many channels as I want with the same settings. I will say that when you get to manage channel, I don't have channel moderation on. I'm not sure if it makes a difference, but I've gone ahead and turned that off, just so that students are able to discuss in multiple formats when they're in that team, including just in the chat itself. But I don't think that turning this on would affect anything. If you come across that it does, please let me know and let everyone else know, because that would be just good to know. I said that anyone could start a post. If I wasn't using anyone except from people in my class, I could say anyone except guests could start a new post. But just because this is my test and for my intervention room, I'm just going to leave these settings as they are. All right, so I would go ahead and add as many of these channels as I wanted to, keeping in mind that on any one computer, I can only see 5 meetings at once. Some people are reporting they can only see 4 meetings at once. I'm wondering if the reason that I see 5 is because of my setup. So just a little background, I do use 2 screens. And I guess what I truly mean is I use 2 devices, in that I have my school laptop, and that's where I start my meeting from, because it's easier to download the attendance on that than it is on a MacBook. And then I also have my MacBook right next to me. Once I have started the meeting on my school laptop, I then join the meeting I've already started on my MacBook. And then I'm able to open up 4 breakout rooms from my school laptop. I can then go into my MacBook and open 4 more breakout rooms. So once I'm in my class meeting, let's say we're meeting. Howdy everyone, welcome. This is our meeting. I'll join that meeting. It does take a bit to connect, so let your students know that if you are doing breakout rooms, that you'll have to wait a little bit for connection time. So once I'm in that meeting and I've given my directions to my students, I can then tell them, all right, we're going to move into breakout rooms. So I will then click on the various breakout rooms and say meet for each of those rooms, and that will open up the breakout room. So I will let breakout room 1 know, I will let the main meeting room know that breakout room 1 is open, because now 'tis open. And you can see that with the little camera there. And I'll go ahead and open up all of the breakout rooms so that students are able to meet in those breakout rooms. If you are in a situation where you're comfortable making students co-owners of the class, so maybe you have a very trustworthy TA, assuming they can't get access to grades through your Microsoft Teams, or if you're, say, a music teacher and you have section leaders who could open up these breakout rooms, they would be able to do this step. However, since I'm the only owner of my teams, as I don't have a TA and I don't yet know my students well enough to give someone ownership in that way, I'm going ahead and opening all those. So now I have all 4 breakout rooms open. And what I can now do is I can jump between those teams. The first thing I do is I always open the chat in every single one. That means that while students are in the chat, I can see what's happening in that chat, regardless of if that's the room that's currently active. And then when I'm popping in between rooms, I'll just say resume. And that will switch me to being active in the specific room here. So now I'm no longer active in main meeting room. I'm active in breakout room 2. And then if I want to come in and check in on breakout room 3, I'll go ahead and click resume. And now I'm active in breakout room 3. So I do that with the numerous breakout rooms I have open. Because I am operating on 2 screens, I'll often be monitoring more than one breakout room at once. So I'll look at the chats for all of them are always open so that I can see all 4 chats just in case. And then I'll pop in and out of various breakout rooms. Sometimes on my second device, I just leave the main meeting room open if I'm not using it as a breakout room. And I will tell students, hey, go ahead and join the main meeting room, where they would just go to that tab and say resume, and that would pop them back into main meeting room. And I'll tell them that they can ask a question there if they need feedback or assistance, and I have that room open at all times. So I'm kind of working through the breakout rooms to help them as I go. So as far as how I share these, because my settings say that these rooms always exist, a student can see these rooms and join the meeting. They would just hit join once I've opened that meeting in that breakout room. However, I recognize that sometimes that's not as smooth as we may think. And so, let me just see if I can pull up here we go, breakout teams. Sometimes what I do is I'll make a chart for them where I give them the actual channel link. So these are the students who are in each breakout room for the activity that we're doing. And then where it says channel link, click here. I've given them this document on Google Classroom so that they're able to easily access where they need to go. So the way that I got that link is if I go into each breakout room, I just say get link to channel. And then you'll see the link pops up. I can say copy. I can then go back to my document and I can insert a link where it says click here by just going into the link function and inserting a link. So that way I've also given my students link access if I'm concerned that they're not going to be able to easily find the breakout room that I would like them to be in. So when I'm on 2 devices, I essentially do the exact same thing. So instead of having just 4 breakout rooms here, which is what I typically have, I would make 8 total breakout rooms. I would open 4 of them on this device. I would open 4 of them on the other device, and I would then have truly 9 rooms because I have breakout rooms 1 to 4 and the general class meeting on one device. And then my second device has breakout rooms 5 through 8. So I now have 9 small groups, which allows me to work with students in a smaller group setting. I know it's not perfect. It's not super user-friendly to pop in and out of rooms in the way that it perhaps is on other platforms, but it's definitely a workaround that I think can be really helpful and in my experience has worked so far. I think it's nice to be able to pop into those small groups, even if I'm just popping in to say like, hey, only 2 of you have your cameras on. Be sure that you're connecting in this world of disconnect. And then seeing their faces pop up and all of a sudden they're talking to each other a little bit more. So it can be a really great way to encourage students to connect in small groups. And we can always monitor the chat regardless of which room we're in. And then as we pop through rooms, we can monitor what the students are actually discussing as well. I also typically, if I'm giving them a collaborative assignment, I will link in that same chart that I've used before. I'll often add a link to the right here that gives them a shared document. So for example, let's see if I can find one.
I didn't get that. Could
No
you
one's
try again?
talking to you, Siri. All right. So for example, here they were dissecting the rubric. You'll see I have the breakout rooms. I have the students who were in those rooms. I have the link to the channel. And then in this last tab here, I've given each group their own document of what it is we're working on so that if they click on this link, it takes them to an editable document so that all students can be editing the same work together, and that way they're able to collaborate. They've worked on this together, which is great. You see they broke down this rubric with one another, which is wonderful. So that if you're really looking for a way to allow them to collaborate collectively on one tool, you just can make copies of your document and then link each of those copies here. All right, hopefully this helps with breakout rooms. Certainly if you have any other questions, I'm happy to help. I can also do a video of me doing this in live time with some of my students. I can do that with my seniors. I'll ask them if they're willing to be my little test subjects. So far, they've been pretty great about that. So I will have my seniors do this as well. If you need to see it happening live with students, I'll work to film that next. All right. Have a great week.